the pandemic really influenced my yoga practice and my yoga life. And getting through the pandemic, there's the brain drain that came from, that is still coming from the pandemic. Just getting through all of that, yoga became even more important in my life than it already was. And that's kind of when I started to think about becoming a teacher and sharing what yoga has been, why it's been so important to me.
You are listening to the No Gimmicks, Just Sweat podcast with your host, Eric Logan. No Gimmicks, Just Sweat is dedicated to hearing the journeys and unique stories behind an athlete's training and what drives them. Get inspired to own your life and make the impossible possible. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Also, please take a few seconds to rate the show and drop me a review. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello and welcome to this episode of No Gimmicks, Just Sweat. And today we have Stacy Schutte on the show. Stacy, how are you doing?
Hi, Eric. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am wonderful. This is a great day.
Yes, it is.
Every day is.
That's right. That's right.
All right. And, once again, thank you for coming on to the show.
Absolutely. Be here.
All right. As with every show, we start with a little icebreaker with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I am ready. Bring them on.
All right. See, that's the type of attitude I like to hear. That enthusiasm. All right. Morning workouts or evening workouts?
Morning.
Cardio or strength?
Strength.
Your favorite outdoor activity?
Ooh, a really long walk.
Okay. All right. Favorite exercise or form of cross training?
I love all types of kettlebells. So any type of kettlebell workout, that's where my jam is right now.
Oh, okay. Kettlebells. Okay.
Kettlebells. I love kettlebells.
No dumbbells?
Well, I like dumbbells too, but kettlebells are kind of fun to swing around.
All right. Least favorite exercise?
Oh, abs. Any type of,
Really?
I know abs are great for you, but they really are not my favorite. They're gonna be probably towards the bottom of the list. I will do them regularly, but I kind of dread them.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. The first thing you do after your workout?
Drink lots of water, and I usually stretch pretty well after every workout.
Okay. All right. A dream place, location, event, anything you would want to go or participate in anywhere in the world?
Yes. So I would love to go to India. That's been on my bucket list for a long time. I would love to go to India. But I also, I would love to go to Australia as well. Australia, okay. There's so much it's just huge country, lots of different things, but the Australia beaches, yeah, I'm totally on that too. Those two.
Okay. All right. Last one.
Yes.
If you can train or, work out, go for a walk, have a yoga session with any celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, wow. That is putting me on the spot. Meghan Markle.
Oh, okay.
So her mom's a yoga instructor.
Really?
And I feel like I'd probably learn more from her than she would learn from me. I'd love to do something with Meghan Markle.
Okay, interesting. Okay. This is going to be an interesting conversation today.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
All right. So let's get into you.
Yes.
Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. Think of it as, your origin story. That's why I always started with every show. So
sure.
What's the origin story? Just like you are a superhero. How did you get to?
I mean, I'm not as exciting as Clark Kent or anything. But I am originally from Indiana. And I've lived in Florida, and now I live just north of Atlanta, in Kennesaw, Georgia. I've been here about 3 years now. I grew up playing every sport you can imagine. I was a gymnast. I played softball. I really was not good at basketball. Ran track, ran cross country, played volleyball, did kind of everything. Um, Growing up, that was sports was really where it was at for me and my sister. That's what we did. Did a little bit of musical things here and there, but primarily we were a sports family. Um, and when I went to college, I was working 3 jobs, taking a big class load, and I still found a way to get to the gym every single day. Whether I walked there, ran there. I was in epic shape, and I walked across campus. I didn't take the bus. I was in I I was in full fitness mode in college. After college, when I started my first job, that's when things started to get a little bit tough for me fitness wise, because everything kind of changed, right? It was a whole new world. I was working a very low paying, high intensity, long hour job. And I was struggling to find balance. And that is where I discovered yoga. It was so funny. I really needed something to calm my mind. I was starting to my anxiety was kind of coming up, and I was having some issues. So I found a yoga class at a rec center near me, and it was like a 7 o'clock on a Thursday night class. And I remember it so distinctly because everyone in there was at least 60 years old. And I was this like 22-year-old walking in there like, I don't know what I just walked into, but it became so important for me to go to that. It became so important for me to have that ability to calm my mind, to move in a very strategic and important way for me. So my yoga carried through with me when I moved to Florida. So across the country, right? I moved from Indiana to Florida. I was the first person in my family to move out of the state of Indiana. And that yoga was so important when I was working in a downtown office in a busy atmosphere. I had so much fun with it, loved it. And then it followed me here to Georgia. So I started doing classes through the university I work for. And then, really, and I think you'll hear this from a lot of yogis, uh, the pandemic really influenced my yoga practice and my yoga life. And getting through the pandemic, there's the brain drain that came from that is still coming from the pandemic. Just getting through all of that, yoga became even more important in my life than it already was. And that's kind of what when I started to think about becoming a teacher and sharing what yoga has been, why it's been so important to me. And so, fast forward a year or so, I just recently got my certification in October, and my 200-hour yoga teacher certification, and I'm starting to teach classes now, and I am just loving sharing my yoga practice. And that's a little bit about me. How was that?
That was great. All right. So before we really kind of dig into talking about yoga,
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions.
Yes, that's okay.
But you said you were very active, and as you were younger, growing up and stuff. What was your favorite activity to do?
So my favorite, so I loved volleyball. Volleyball became a very
Okay.
big part for me. Volleyball was huge for me. Then I didn't grow anymore. Uh, I was the tall one in junior high, and then I didn't grow, so that became a little bit hard because I was kind of a middle of the pack height, and that does kind of influence some things. I found so much love also though in track. I loved track. I was a sprinter, and I went to state in track, and I loved going fast. Like I loved being fast. That was so fun. Um, and so those two things were really my passions in high school. And all the stuff that came with that, though, the training, that was such a big thing for me, and I was able to carry that through to college too. So I kind of used that high school athlete mentality and carried it through in my fitness practice. And so I try to keep that every once in a while. I try to go back there and I'm like, yeah, this is what high school Stacy would have done, right?
Do you still run today?
Yes. So running is such an interesting part of my life. I kind of go through phases, and I was just picking up running again earlier this year when I had to have a little procedure that kind of took me out of any type of fitness game for a while. And so I've been starting off walking again, and I'm totally going to start running. I have run a half marathon before. I've run 5Ks before. I did the Disney Wine and Dine half marathon in Florida, uh,
Okay.
which I did not train properly for. So when I get back into running, I do absolutely have the goal of someday running a marathon. Like, that is absolutely a goal for me. And so, maybe that'll be my goal for 2022. We'll see. But it's hard because I also, this is a little bit selfish, but I'm going to be real with you, very real. I am a warm weather girl, and I would rather be sweating than have my hands be freezing. And so it's so hard for me to run in the winter. It truly is. And I know that sounds like a little bit of a lame excuse, but I mean, that's a little bit of a thing. So I have to get over that. I do. I mentally have to get over that hurdle. But yes, I do still run.
Okay. A warm weather girl. Okay.
Yes. And it gets cold here in Georgia. You do. People
Come on.
don't think it
Oh,
gets
wait a
cold.
minute.
It gets
Come on.
cold.
What is cold in Georgia now?
I mean, but it gets,
I put it like this: compared to Indiana.
yeah, it's not compared to Indiana, but
Right. Exactly.
it's kind of like right in the middle of Florida and Indiana, but it's still cold for me. It's still cold for me.
All right. So, fitness is an important part of your life.
Yes.
So what does a week of training, a week of workouts look for you?
Sure. Um, and I'm going to be the first to say that routine is something that and habit is something that I am truly trying to continue to work on. That is absolutely one of my goals for 2022. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and listening to a lot of really motivational people to try and form extremely healthy habits and get into a daily routine. I don't really have that right now. And that's something that I'm really working on. I will say that I do try to practice yoga in some way, shape, or form every single day, because yoga can come in all different ways. I'm not saying I do, I try. My yoga practice is very much dependent upon what's coming up for the day, what my mood is in the morning, and what I feel like my body needs. So I really base a lot of what I do based on what my body needs. I am usually in the gym working out at least 3 or 4 times a week if I can. I'm a strength training type of a person. I love to lift. That's one of my things I took from high school, is I do love the weightlifting aspect of things. And then I do always try to take at least one walk or 2 walks a week, just around my neighborhood, a little bit of a longer walk to clear my head, to have that fresh air, to be in nature. So if we're talking routine, that's what I try to do. Some weeks are more, some weeks are less, but that is one of my goals for 2022, is to really have a very strict routine, because that will absolutely help my stress and my mentality as well.
Okay. All right. So let's dig into the subject at hand. Yoga.
Yes.
Yoga.
Yoga.
So can you go a little more deeper into how you got started practicing yoga? Because I think, and I'm gonna speak for myself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that you kind of know you
Mm-hmm.
should do it, but there's also that intimidation factor.
Yeah. I think so. So yoga can be very intimidating. There's a couple aspects of it that I think are more intimidating than others. One, I think, is the terminology, right?
Right.
When you look at a yoga class schedule, you may be seeing words that, like, you've never seen before, and you're like, that doesn't mean anything to me. I have hard or slow or what that is. So that there absolutely is the intimidation factor there. And then people always say, I want to do yoga, but I'm not flexible. And that is
Right.
not what yoga is about, like not anywhere near it. Yoga is really about breath and movement and the working with your mind and your body. Yoga can there's a type of yoga called yin yoga where you do 5 poses and you hold them for 10 minutes each. Like there's all different kinds of yoga out there, and there's restorative yoga where you can like lay your entire body on a big bolster for 10 minutes and or sit with your legs up the wall. Yoga is, but it's just intimidating. And so for me, when I first started my first job out of college, I was having some mental health issues, right? I was really, really stressed all the time because it was a whole new world. I had been so academic in high school, so academic in college, and all of a sudden I was thrust into this new kind of life. And I was like, I need to try to do something to help with my mental health. And again, my first yoga practice, I went in there, was everyone was over 65, and it was very intimidating because they were doing some pretty impressive things for 60 plus year old people. But one of the things I had to keep telling myself is that this is for me. This is what I'm doing to help myself. And it's not for anyone else but me. And so that's why I kept going back. And I was like, these people don't care about me, but I care about me. So that's why I'm here. And when you go then in Florida, I went to a little bit of a fancier studio. Okay. It was one of those fancy downtown studios. And that can definitely be intimidating because those instructors, they have long flowy hair, and they're all in their crazy yoga outfits, and they have crazy yoga pictures on the wall, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. But
Right.
if you choose the right class, which we can talk about later, if you choose to see it as something for you, B, know that it's a learning process, and yoga is a never-ending learning process. It is not like you run, like you get to this pose and then you're done. That's not how it works. And it's like running. You keep continuing to have goals, right?
Right.
You continue to try and improve, but you have to start small. Don't start by going to like an hour-long hot yoga class, because that will almost kill you. I just went to one, and I'm just telling you that was whew, okay? And props to anyone who goes to hot yoga. But start soft, start small. And if you're looking at a yoga class schedule and you were like so confused, and call and ask and have that conversation, because yoga teachers, there may be a certain yoga teacher that's really good with beginners and ones that's better with advanced. So I also had to kind of find that balance. I kind of had to play the trial and error. But once you find someone that you really love going to, once you find a type of yoga that you love going to, it will start becoming such an important part of your life, in my opinion. That's what happened to me.
Okay. So you brought up something,
Yes.
and one of the things I want to kind of ask about is that, like, if you Google yoga,
Mm-hmm.
you will find that there are many different types of yoga.
Yes.
One article I found is like 13 different types, another was like 8 different types.
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
can you determine the style or type of yoga that's going to be best for you?
Yes. So there's a couple things I would encourage you to do. First and foremost, if you want to start doing yoga, ask yourself why. Is it something that you, kind of like me, where you want it to be a part of your fitness routine, where you want it to be there to help with not just your mind, but strength and mobility? And is that what you want from it? Do you really want it to be a stress release? Do you really want gentle calm? Do you really want it to be a tool for you as you train? Do you want it to be what you need on your rest day? So when you're looking at the different types of yoga, have that in mind first. Decipher that first, because that will draw you to different types of yoga, because there are some that are much more physically intensive than others.
Right.
And so that's number one, is think about, is yoga going to be a physically intensive thing for you? Is it going to be part of your fitness routine? Is it going to be that important to you? Or is it going to be a different type of importance? Is it going to be for your mental health? And have that in mind first. Then the next step is, before you sign up for a yoga class, and I think I said this before, but I'll totally say this again. When you look at a class, really read the description. Read the description, because yoga teachers know that the word vinyasa does not mean something to someone all the time. They do not know what that means. So you look at that and you're like, okay, I have no idea what I'm walking into. And that's intimidating. And if there is no description, then email or call or text and say, hey, I'm a beginner. I'm looking for my practice to give me, what class should I go to? And they will absolutely see, and they will absolutely know what teacher is going to be best for you, what class is going to be best for you, or at least they'll make suggestions. And that way you can go in feeling more confident, at least starting off. And then you can always try different ones. That's another thing, is always never be afraid to try different types. Again, I just tried an hour-long hot yoga class. I had no idea what I was in for, but it was an amazing experience because I felt epic afterwards. But during, I thought, whoo, this is insane. So just keep trying, keep learning, but really try and get an understanding of the class before you go.
Okay. So hot yoga wouldn't be, recommended for first time yogas.
And I will say, I know people who have jumped right into hot yoga, and it's so funny that I'm talking about this because it just happened, which is why it's on my mind. I would, if you do it, start off at 30 minutes. I went in with a bang and I started at an hour. I should have even started at 30 minutes. Like I said, start small. I didn't take my own advice. Start small and work your way into it, because then that way you'll more likely to continue it, right? Just like with running, start with running a mile instead of start with running a 5K. Start small.
Right. Okay, so let's get into specifics with
Yes.
as far as yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that benefit athletes? You and I, we kind of talked online for a while, so I'm a duathlete as a runner.
Yes.
So how can yoga benefit me as well as other people who are runners, who are cyclists, who are triathletes, duathletes?
Yes, absolutely. So, and I actually did a whole workshop on this during my yoga teacher training. It's fascinating. There are yogis out there who actually work with pro athletes. They work with pro baseball players, pro football players, high school, college. They have yoga instructors come in. So yoga can be a very, very big benefit to athletes. And people, the interesting thing is that people always say flexibility when really it's mobility, right? It's mobility. So it's like stretching, but in a different way. Because when you're stretching, you obviously want to stretch before your race and you want to stretch after your race. But yoga incorporates breath into it as well, which is so important for your muscles, right? You're sending that breath to those different muscles. You are bringing your mind into your movement as well. So not only is it so important for your mental health to incorporate yoga into your training, absolutely help with clarity. It will help with your stress. It will help with lowering those nerves and calming the mind. But it will also help with the mobility, because you're out there riding, right? Your legs are constantly going in the same motion. You want them to last longer. You want those muscles to keep going. And you know what it's like to get tight, right? After a long ride or a long run, your shoulders tense up, your legs tense up. And yoga can really help with that mobility and help you, help with having that happen less, right? It's like a recovery tool. It can be a recovery tool for you that could be so beneficial. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It was perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So you are certified. So
yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, what is the appropriate title? Is it yogi or yoga instructor?
So, okay. yogi is a term that's just, honestly, it's anyone who does yoga. Anyone who does yoga is a yogi.
Okay, I didn't know that.
It's a great
I
question.
thought that was
Yes.
the instructor. Okay.
Yeah, I call myself a yogi because I love yoga and I do it, and that's why I call myself a yogi. I am a yoga instructor, so I registered yoga instructor is kind of how we do it, because I'm registered with Yoga Alliance. And so when I write it out, it's RYT 200, because there's different levels of yoga instruction. So I'm at the kind of the base level right now.
Okay.
Obviously, there's other levels. You can go up to 300 hour and then 500 hour, and each of those has different experience levels as well. So each of those has different ones. A lot of when you're going into like a yoga studio, you'll usually find some 200 hours, some 300 hour. Maybe the studio owner is a 500 hour. It just takes a while to get there. So I am a 200-hour registered yoga teacher.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the process in getting certified?
Sure.
If somebody was interested in getting certified.
Yeah. Well, I would say the first step is really to develop your own practice at first, right?
Okay.
You don't become a running coach if you don't run, right?
Yeah.
And you don't do that. So really developing your practice, and then really deciding as a person, why do I want to do this, right? What is my yoga practice just for me, or how do I want to do I want to share this with others, and how do I want to share this with others? Because not every runner becomes a running,
right,
not
exactly.
no yeah, and so not every athlete becomes a coach. And so you really kind of want to follow that mindset first, and really think about what you want to do and why. And the why is so important. For me, really, the most important thing for me was that it has helped me so much to get through so many stressful life experiences, and it's been my constant. And my yoga instructors have been a constant in my life that have helped me. So that's my why, right? Um, getting certified, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I actually did it online, and I know that sounds crazy, but I did it online because of everything went online because of COVID. And I did decide to do it online, but with that comes readings, right? Quizzes, readings, histories. You do have to submit certain sequences, different types of sequences. Mine was all done in the form of Vinyasa. So I was, submitting sequences, submitting videos, that type of thing. And so the 200-hour means, you spent 200 hours learning, whether that was more or less. So the 200-hour means it's a 200-hour certification process. And then once, you kind of have a final practicum. So I did an hour-long yoga session, and I submitted it, and I had to explain why I did the moves that I did, why I did the breath work that I did, and do a whole kind of essay. And then once I got some amazing feedback on that too. The feedback is such an important part of it. Once that was completed, then I got certified, and I registered with Yoga Alliance, and there you go. So if anyone has questions about that, they're welcome to reach out to me. But it's also very important, I think. If you want to do an in-person one, that's great. An in-person one is also an option. Just if you're going to a studio, make sure that studio kind of lines up with your personal philosophy, I guess, because there's so many different yoga philosophies out there. Just make sure that they are, if you've been going there for a while and that's the one that you enjoy, I would say just make sure that the studio that you are getting certified through kind of lines up with your philosophy as well.
Okay. And generally, how long does it take to become certified?
Well, I mean, people can do it quickly. People can do it in a couple months. I had some major life events happen. It did take me about 6 months to get it, because I was working full time, and again, major life events that kind of put some ebb and flow in that. But it took me about 6 months, and that was long because I did take some It can take maybe 2 to 3 months if you're really going full force on it. About 2 to 3 months, I would say, is full force, and then trainings do run out, right? Kind of have to finish. So each studio is going to say, yeah, you kind of have to finish it within. I had to finish it within a year, and so I did it within 6 months.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, what is your inspiration? What's the thing that keeps you going daily?
Oh, wow. Just in life?
Yeah, just in life.
Just in life.
Keeps
Okay.
you going.
So, as with all of us, we've gone through some really difficult things. And my mom is like my biggest inspiration in the world. She is one of the most positive people. And that is her mentality has kind of carried through with me. I always call her for advice. She's my go-to. But I think another thing that I've had to really do is to start living in the present.
Okay.
And that's been one of my biggest challenges in the past couple years, and with moving. Right, I've moved across the country I moved quite a bit, and those are big life experiences. Living in the present moment, not living in what happened yesterday, not living in what happened last week or last year, not living in the future, but really focusing on what can I do today to be happy? What can I do today to help someone else be happy? That has been my go-to. And I mean, like I said, I'm wanting to work on the routines. That's my thing. But if I am not feeling good, if I'm not feeling my best, I say, what can I do in this moment to do it? Do I need to go on a walk? Do I need to get some fresh air? Do I need to yesterday I had to go down to the fitness room and slam a slam ball like 30 times. That's just what I had to do.
Right.
And so, but I was living in the present moment. What do I need in this present moment? Not, I'm going to be better tomorrow, not this. What do I need in this present moment to get through? Do I need to just sit and breathe? Do I need to just sit and close my eyes? Do I need to move? Do I need to listen to that's kind of how I've been able to live. And that's what I try to do to get through day to day.
Okay. All right. If you can go back in a time machine and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. This is actually something so funny because I tell people all the time that to the people who knew me in high school, if they knew me today, would like not recognize me. They'd be like, "Who is this person?" I was very, very very strict in high school. I was very strict with myself. I was very strict with others. I was always follow the rules. I mean, I laughed and I had a good time, but I would say laugh more and don't take life so seriously. I was so serious in high school, and I got really annoyed by people who joked. Like I was like, stop joking. I got really annoyed by that. And today it's like you need those things to get through life. And so while it's okay to take things seriously and it's okay to work hard, like those moments of laughter and happiness are totally okay. So like enjoy them. Because I didn't do that enough in high school. I really didn't. Younger Stacy was very, very serious, like I said. So, and people would not, if they, people from high school, like if I went back to a reunion right now and they were like, you're a yoga teacher? Like, what? That does not make sense. So I think that it's a pleasant surprise. I'm very happy that I have been able to loosen up and to really live a different kind of lifestyle and to be better. But younger Stacy needed to loosen up a little bit. So I'd tell her to loosen up a little bit.
All right. So what's a fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Fun fact about me is that I knit. I'm a knitter.
Okay.
It kind of comes with self-care, right? And so when it's weird, this is another weird thing. I started knitting in Florida, which does not make sense at all because you don't need anything knit in Florida at all. So I knit stuff and send it to Indiana. Okay, that's what I did. But It was another form of stress relief for me. It's another form of mental self-care for me. So I do knit. And again, it's really, I've been focusing so much on my mental health, that knitting was something that when it was dark outside and I was like, I didn't know my surroundings, right? I was in a whole new place. Knitting felt safe to me. So I started picking up knitting, and I would knit hats and send them to Indiana, knit gloves, send them to Indiana. And so I still knit today. Yeah, I knit.
Well, see, knitting will fit perfectly with running. You know, you can knit a hat, gloves.
That's true. I should
gloves.
probably knit myself a pair of gloves, right? And then get out
See,
there. Is
there
that what
you
you're telling me to do?
see, there you go. So, what's next for you? What's next for Stacy?
Um, so I am starting to kind of try and build my yoga business and build my clientele. That's really what I'm wanting to do. I've started getting some regulars in my classes, which is so awesome. I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm just teaching at my apartment complex right now, and they've been so wonderful in helping me with that. That's just been awesome. Props to them. But I would love to. I just want to keep teaching, and I want to teach more. And so I'm trying to developing a little bit of salesmanship skills is hard to do because that is not who I am. But I'm trying to work on my yoga business. But it's just really, for me, it's just about spreading my love of yoga and what I know it can do for people to other people. And that's really all I want to do, right? Yoga has been, like I said, so instrumental in my life. I just want that to help someone else's day. You know, I just want to make more people's days. I know that sounds silly, but that's really all I want to do. So, you know, it's been great because my Instagram I've actually had some people reach out and say, hey, you know, could you make me this type of flow, or what do you think I could do for this? And that just makes my day because I love, you know, personalizing a yoga practice too is so fun. So I would love to do a few bigger classes because I haven't done a lot of big classes. Love personal yoga too. I love just doing one-on-one where I can like really focus on what your body needs and how can I help with your body and your needs. Um, so really for me, it's just it's really expanding and trying to reach more people so that I can share my love of yoga with other people.
Awesome. All right, you got last words you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think, you know, for your listeners who are runners and duathletes and triathletes, don't don't be afraid to mix it up, and don't be afraid to try to incorporate something new. And that's something that, you know, trying something new is hard to do as an adult because it requires more time, it requires more energy. But really, you know, focusing on your mental health, focusing on your physical health, but also the mental side of it is so important as an athlete, especially when you get into race season. I know that you're racing like all summer long, right? So when you get into those seasons, if you already have a yoga practice or something, or if you haven't, start developing it now, or a form of um, mental health self-care. So then you are making sure that you're taking care of your mind as well as your body. But don't be afraid to try something new and have fun with it. Don't take it so seriously, just have fun with it.
Great advice. Great advice. Stacy, thank you again for coming on the show. This was an awesome conversation.
Eric, you're welcome. Thank you so much for letting me letting me spew off about my love of yoga, but also encouraging me to get back out there and knit myself some gloves and run. So
So if anybody wanted to get in contact with you, how can they do so?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at stacylyn.fitness. And so I check my DMs all the time. So that'd probably be the best way to get in touch with me. Of course, they could reach out to you and you could be like, hey, get in touch with Stacy. But that'd probably be best.
Yes.
And then we can talk about anything, yoga, running, whatever you want to talk about. And yeah, I'd love to be in touch.
All right, get awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, you have an awesome day today.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the No Gimmicks, Just Sweat podcast. We really appreciate everyone who tunes in each week. If you enjoyed today's show, please support us by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember to tell your friends about the No Gimmicks, Just Sweat podcast, so we can continue to have awesome conversations with everyday athletes just like you. Until next time, have an amazing week.